And also my games don't have titties no more, and so I want bigger boobs on all video game characters, all of them, massive enormous tits, just beautiful giant titties everywhere. In fact, let's have a game that's only titties, just an entire titty video game. Just you're surrounded by titties all the time, you play as titties, you have to conquer the tower of titties, you climb the mountain, no titties, just titties, man. Black Samurai Backlash for Ubisoft. Tell me more.
Welcome to the internet. I'll be your guide. And today we are talking about a massive controversy surrounding Assassin's Creed Shadows. The new trailer, the official world premiere trailer, dropped 9 hours ago. And as you see right there, the massive dislikes. Not quite ratioed yet. We can do a quick little refresh and see if there's any update to that.
You are so sad and strange and weird, and I can't believe this is something that you consider a victory. We did it again, comrades. Look at this. Little Mermaid. The downvotes. The Black Little Mermaid downvote ratio has been achieved. Lord of the Rings has a black elf. Quick, comrades, downvote. Yes, good. Another victory. We've done it. We've done it again. For me. Okay, cool. Awesome. I will definitely reach out to Cody Shoddy because I love Cody Shoddy. Who doesn't love Cody Shoddy? How can you not love Cody Shoddy? He's such a great person, you know? Like, knowing that I share a planet with Cody Shoddy, that fills me with warmth and happiness and wholesomeness. Whereas knowing that I share a planet with this motherfucker, it makes me sad and angry. Confused? Also, why are you so weird, sir? Look, 169. Here it is. You see that number? The number's almost bigger. It's almost downvoted.
This trailer will more than likely be ratioed before it's all said and done because the backlash has been massive. Now,
wow,
we're going to go through
what's
a lot
the backlash
of different
for?
Points. This is a great video right here, and I'm going to link you to his Twitter.
You know what's odd is I've seen this video making the rounds almost exclusively from right-wingers, far-righters, and all of them kind of, you know, suddenly being like, well, by the way, normally, me being a white guy, I wouldn't want to talk about this topic specifically because of the samurai being black. I know it's a little bit odd, a little weird to hear another white guy talk about how okay, so this is not about the samurai being black, okay? This is about ethics in gaming journalism, forced diversity and wokeness, DEI bridge, other sounds, and also my games don't have titties no more. And so I want bigger boobs on all video game characters, all of them, massive, enormous tits, just beautiful giant titties everywhere. In fact, let's have a game that's only titties, just an entire titty video game. Just you're surrounded by titties all the time, you play as titties, you have to conquer the tower of titties, you climb the mountain, no titties, just titties, man. That's what I want. And also, sorry, what was this about? Yes, this was about ethics in gaming journalism. And, well, okay, don't take it from me, a white guy. Here, we can listen to a black person also talk about these same points, about how this is about forced diversity, okay?
Account because he does a great job of breaking this all down, better than I could do. So let's listen in, we're going to discuss, and then we have a lot more to talk about.
Okay.
So we got our first look at the new Assassin's Creed game, and I gotta say, man, I'm not impressed. I'm actually just really annoyed right now. We have two main protagonists, one female, one male, just like Odyssey. We're going to be using Neo, I hope I said that right, a female Japanese character. And for the male character, they're going to be using Yasuke. Now, I'm annoyed because they're using Yasuke, and I'm going to tell you why. Yasuke is what they want to say is the first black Japanese samurai, when in all actuality, he was not even a samurai. He was a retainer, so he wasn't even a full-blown...
Oh shit. Well, case closed, everyone. Yeah. Now, there are some, let's say, white people who are quite obsessed with Japanese culture and anime and stuff like that. And sometimes they'll talk about a lot of stuff related to the history of samurai and then samurai school. They made themselves own sword. They've mastered the blade, by the way. They're definitely a lot of cool people. And so I went down the rabbit hole of watching some of their videos on samurai history because I'm not totally on the up and up on samurai history, and then started going through Wikipedia, which led me to other articles and stuff. And it turns out that actually qualifies you as still, by definition, being a samurai. This isn't, first off, this isn't a gotcha. And what also is amazing about the story is that we're talking about a historical figure. I know there's been other times, such as Ariel from The Little Mermaid, where the weirdos get real mad about an issue because it's like, oh, my black mermaid's Ariel was Aryan, pure, like the driven snow. The same individual has a wonderful back and forth here. Assassin's Creed is being based in Japan, and then not using a Japanese male protagonist is stupid. We know exactly why they're using Yasuke, the message, and it's annoying. It would be dumb as having it being based in Africa and deciding to use a white male protagonist. And now, this is why I can't quit Twitter, is these kind of interactions. So, like, if someone wanted to make a Yasuke game, how would they make the Yasuke game without him being black? A non-Assassin's Creed game? I don't see the issue. You clearly didn't understand the position. What if the Assassin's Creed team wanted to make an Assassin's Creed game about Yasuke because they thought he was cool? How would they do that? They would do what they're doing now, obviously, and get the same response. So they can't make an Assassin's Creed game about Yasuke, who was a real person, without being called pandering racists, because instead of just playing the game, or at least hoping it's good, y'all chose to engage in rage-fueled rejection based on how close to reality a fantasy game is. I kid you not. Not only is Yasuke a historical figure, but he has appeared in Japanese video games multiple times already. There's an entire animated series that's super good, by the way, that you should all watch. Afro Samurai, that's inspired by this real historical figure. His actual life story is fascinating. I'm going to play it for you all now because it's an awesome piece of history that everyone should learn. But again, I don't think they knew. I think this is yet again one of those outrage factory things where it's like, oh, what? Fuck, now they're making samurai black, of course, just for the quotas to spread the woke message because the woke mind virus has been spread. It's like, oh, y'all didn't Google this one. It gets worse. Grums, just like the absolute fucking shit stain of the internet. The worst person. The guy who pretends to care about video games so much and pretends to care about titties. And I love both those things, all right? I'm a titty enthusiast. I love fucking titties. I like video games too, all right? I'm totally fine with there being titties in video games. Lots of them. Dongs too. Hey, you have your fill, or none of the above if you don't want any of that shit, okay? But as a lover of these things, as someone who just fucking loves titties, I gotta say, it's ridiculous to have these people as representatives. They are false prophets. All of them. They are false prophets. They are leading you astray, and they are trying to convince you of things that are not true, okay? Your cup runneth over when it comes to attractive video game characters. Don't worry. Nothing is going to ruin your life. And I'm sorry, but having a woman in a video game being a ninja or a samurai or anything, or having a black person who is also representative of a real-life historical figure in a video game, it could still be awesome. It could still be shit, but you shouldn't be outraged at its very existence just by virtue of the guy being black. That's racist as fuck. Like, holy shit. And I'm talking about geeks and gamers here, all right?
Samurai. And for all of the characters they could have used for Japan, all these kind of different people they could have picked from, they picked Yasuke. Why do they pick Yasuke? Because he's black.
And we're going to listen to the rest of this, but that's the point here, okay? This is virtue signaling, this is ESG, this is DEI, this is identity politics.
Okay, I didn't pre-watch this, all right? When I was doing that whole bit earlier, when I was going through the sounds, but because I hate watch some of these motherfuckers, I'm used to it by now. So you just hear the same things over and over. This is all the things you don't like. This is wokeness, cultural Marxism, bridge, DEI, okay? All the things we're supposed to not like. Call a racist by any other name, monsieur. But like, it's just the same shit over and over. You've just found other words, other replacements, in some cases for the N-word, you know? Like when you have people like Grums, look how Grums fucking phrase this, and tell me this is not a non-black person using the N-word, or at least trying to substitute for it. Exporting of woke culture to other nations is the real colonialism they pretend to care about. They are fine being your cultural saviors, though. And when we're speaking of Grums, this is Grums. Allow me to present you all with Mark Kern. He founded a video game company that eventually did get a lot of money and funding, and he eventually got kicked out of it because he wasted money on the sperm bus. He's the sperm bus guy. Yep, that's him. He pretends to care about video games, and he pretends to care about titties. But dare I say, he's a detriment to both, all right? First off, you are making a lot of people who have titties absolutely disgusted at an entire subset of the internet, and you're trying to associate that with gamers. Hashtag not all gamers, okay? There is awesome gamers. There is awesome nerds. Amazing, wonderful nerds. And nerds of all shapes, sizes, colors, sexualities, you know? There's amazing indigenous nerds, amazing black nerds. I'm going to introduce you to a bunch of awesome black nerds in a little bit. And people who honestly love video games and love the culture and love, playing all these games. And also, yes, can love titties in a respectful way, all right? In a way that pays homage to the titties and an ode to titties and celebrates all kinds of breasts in all their shapes and sizes and doesn't lose their shit, all right, when an alternative costume doesn't have like 25% titty skin. Oh, God, my titty skin. They're the cleavage. It was the funniest thing on the leftist mafia, honestly, introducing Rebecca to all these concepts and just having her have to see this world and like, oh, you know, she was so innocent before she learned about the people who lose their shit over the 25% titty skin. And the internet forgot for a little while, all right? We had an entire week of silence. We weren't thinking about Stellar Blade. We weren't thinking about all these weirdos, and they weren't distracting us, you know, with great efficacy. But they're back. They're back, and they have a new cause, and the new cause is Assassin's Creed.
Who say something like this about Resident Evil 5.
I don't think they're ever going to remake Resi 5 because of the obvious racial conflict that's happening in that game, and I think it would be completely stupid. That game has not aged well in terms of who you're fighting.
Oh, we love to see it, folks. Growth. Beautiful ass growth. If you don't know, Jacksepticeye, huge streamer, very, very famous. He's been a participant in, I think I played Among Us with him. I played Among Us. I didn't know who any of these people were. I mean, I feel bad because there's so many people who are like, I would literally do anything to have a conversation with Corpse Husband. Like, I would literally do anything just to be able to speak to that guy for a couple minutes, you know, and I was like, I didn't know who he was. I was like, your voice is cool. I was like, Lance, yes, of course it is. That's what he's known for. He's really fucking, that's Corpse Husband, Lance. What are you doing? Don't embarrass us, Lance. But anyways, there's a lot of really famous people. Asmongold, for example, massive streamer, one of the biggest streamers, World of Warcraft streamer, XQC. You're seeing different folk go in different directions as they're doing their own public exploration and growth publicly, right? I mean, in a lot of these cases, these are white men who are in massive positions of power, who have huge audiences, massive audiences. And you can see in some cases, yeah, Asmongold's a massive ass piece of shit who's basically doing like react streams to cops cracking in kids' skulls who are protesting genocide. And when he goes on Hassan's stream to talk about it, you can tell the guy doesn't have the first idea about what any of this fucking shit is about. You know, he was like, half of that conversation wasn't even like a debate or yelling. It was just him learning things for the first time and being like, oh, okay. Well, I mean, when you put it like that, yeah. Well, yeah, you know what? I kind of agree with you, but at the end of the day, also, you can't destroy personal property. I think that if you, if you spray a fire extinguisher at a cop, then he has the right to shoot you with a non-lethal round. That's all it took. You went from kids like spraying fucking little fire extinguisher on a police officer that he could fire a round that could potentially kill you. Like, people die from those. Yes, even though it's non-lethal, it can kill you. So I don't know where. Okay, all right. So not a lot of growth there. A little bit of growth in the XQC arena. We saw XQC recently talking about the issues related to trans people and talking to conservatives, including DJ Academics, who's not having a great time right now. How's that whole Drake alliance working out for you? Either way, we saw XQC in that conversation with Trainwrecks, and then he was saying, you right wingers are obsessed. Right wingers are absolutely fucking obsessed. Just to the normies, to normal people, it's just it's really weird that you're just like, trans people, all the time. Because like once people ask, oh, so what's the percentage of the population that is trans? It's like, oh, it's about 0.7%. Yeah, that's not a lot of, I mean, it is a lot of people in terms of that. Is it's still millions of people because the population of America is really big, but that, like, to warrant having nonstop coverage of this being the end of the world, end of days style like topic, that's weird. It just, again, for someone who's not really one way or the other, I'm not saying like I'm the world's biggest LGBTQ plus ally, but I will say at this moment in time, it just seems weird that y'all are just losing your minds all the time over this shit.
So they would have to just fundamentally...
Oh, sorry, my point of all that long rambling rant was that Jacksepticeye, it's beautiful to see that he's also recognizing Resident Evil 5. Yes, if you don't know, Resident Evil 5 came after the award-winning and absolutely stellar and beloved Resident Evil 4. And then right after, when that game's first footage comes out, it shows that it's actually taking place in a country in Africa. And the visual imagery of having a police officer and an American running around shooting black people was obviously pretty disturbing, even for the time. Like, a lot of people were like, that's kind of fucked up. And it's like, whoa, wait, but they're zombies. They're black people who have been infected. It's just, wait, no, just like in Raccoon City, people get infected. It's like, yeah, but like, just with the whole history of colonization, and especially, you know, what a lot of European countries and even the West and America have done to nations in Africa, it seems in very poor taste, you know. And like, okay, we got you. We're not going to do anything too expensive. What we're going to do is we're just going to do a color palette switch on some of the characters and make them white. And so now it'll be diverse. Problem solved, right? So now you're shooting white people too. You're shooting white people and black people. And one of the other playable characters, the secondary character, is black. So you play as her, you know. We're going to really hypersexualize her to an almost like, holy shit, maybe I should have had post-nut clarity when I was doing some of these costume designs. Some of them are going to be pretty damn racist too. You know, the leopard print bikinis and stuff, just so, you know, I can finish and then we can get back to making the game. But you do play as a black woman, so there's that. I'm fixing it. So you can tell that if you're going to remake Resident Evil 5, you would have to remake a lot of it, especially just like, I'm not saying that you can't do it. I would say definitely if you want to do a Resident Evil 5 game and you want to do a game that is based in a country in Africa or a fictional country in Africa, maybe you should be hiring and speaking to people of color. Maybe you should be hiring and speaking to people of those countries that you want to then represent in the game so that it can be done properly. Maybe you want to base a story around that and also bring light to a lot of other issues around the world. Hey, instead of having like a white American come to a country in Africa and then shoot a whole bunch of people who are infected with like some zombie virus, you could bring attention to the fact that like a lot of the minerals in this country are being exploited by massive corporations for profit and these people aren't being properly paid. Make them the villain. There's your villain. Hey, the villain could be Elon Musk or Tesla. Well, if you don't want to like go straight for that, you could be like Elon Lusk and Lesla, whatever you want to call it, and then yeah, there could be a game there. Who knows?
Change what the game is about.
It also sucked. Yeah, I agree. I mean, the only cool thing was that like I have some fond memories of it because I had one of my like really close friends. I had left Japan and they were still living in Japan, and it was one of the first games that we could both play online with each other. So I did play through all of Resident Evil 5. But like yeah, it was even for the time, I understood why people were pointing out that this is kind of fucked, right? Like when you saw the first trailer for Evil 5, even for the time, I was like, whoa, it's a weird look. Mercenary mode was fun.
Racial conflict and hasn't aged well, according to Jacksepticeye. I
Base
like
Jack.
Gemology's post here.
Good
Has
job.
Jacksepticeye ever played Resident Evil 5? He says Resident Evil 5 couldn't be made into a remake today because of the racial conflict happening in the game. Even though there is no racial conflict in the game. You are just...
It's a drug corporation run by a blonde-haired eugenics fail son. That's true. That is true. Yeah. All right. Well, expand upon that then. You've already got some built-in lore there, you know, just expand upon that and then point out, you know, maybe the mining of a special mineral. We can call it lobalt. Yeah, we'll call it that. And then you know, tie it to some modern day figures as well and countries.
trying to stop the virus.
You know what? Do what was the last Far Cry? The one that takes place in a fictional South American country. They do a great job of shitting on Canada. Awesome. awesome. I was playing through it, and as soon as like it's obviously not with actual Canadians, but like they just shit on Canadian and Canadian mining companies in a great way, and you're like, why don't more games do this? You know, tie it into real world issues, tie it into Western colonization. Shit on Canada. The game shits on Canada so much. One of the main villains of the story is Canadian. He's a massive piece of shit, and because you get choices, you can choose whether or not you want to betray him, or it'll probably benefit you more to like not betray him and stuff like that. But I just like, fuck this dude, right? I was just right away like, shoot. The hypocrisy of game journalists is staggering. Here they are slamming Noir for having a Gaijin samurai. Meanwhile, IGN is praising the first black samurai. The first. You didn't even read the article that you took a screenshot of, because if you had made it to the last sentence, you'd learn that this is a real historical figure. Who is Yasuke? Assassin's Creed Shadows Black Samurai explained. The African warrior in Ubisoft's new CGI trailer is one of history's most fascinating fighters. This year's Animus, Ubisoft's memory-hopping time machine, is taking us back to 16th century Japan in Assassin's Creed Shadows. Naturally, that means we'll be exploring the life of a Japanese character, the daughter of famed ninja master Fujibayashi Nagato. But Shadows has a second protagonist, an African samurai. If you're surprised to see a man of such origins wielding a katana, you may not know his fascinating true story. This is Yasuke, Japan's first black samurai, the first real historical person to be a playable protagonist in an Assassin's Creed game. Again, the first real historical person to be playable protagonist in an Assassin's Creed game, and still, it is simply being done because of wokeness. Wokeness. Literally an anime series called Yasuke that's on Netflix that's about a black samurai who's a retainer for the Nobunaga Oda until Oda was assassinated. This is actual Japanese history that you can look up. Please go off on your lazy anti-woke BS. Exporting of woke culture. Exporting the woke culture.
This is the story of Yasuke, the first black samurai.
In 1579, a mysterious black man arrived at the shores of Japan. He was a sensation. People would climb over one another to catch a glimpse of him, even crushing other people to death. This reaction was normal, considering most people in Japan had never seen a black man. A samurai called Matsudaira Latada described the man in his diary. His height was 6 shaku, 2 sun. He was black, and his skin was like charcoal. Historians believe that Yasuke was 1.82 meters tall, which was overwhelming for most Japanese. That's because the average samurai was very slim and about 1.6 to 1.65 meters in height. Here's a fun fact. Because Buddhist statues during the Sengoku period were typically black, many Japanese,
not based on but inspired by,
believed that Yasuke was a divine visitor, so they would swarm him by the dozens.
It's an awesome
There's a lot
series.
of speculation as to how Yasuke avoided the crowds. Some say he rode a horse after the town broke out in a riot, so he decided to hide in a Jesuit church. But where did this man come from? Not much about Yasuke is known before he arrived in Japan. His birth name, date of birth, and country of origin remain a mystery, but based on the trade relationships between Japan, Africa, and Europe, historians speculate that Yasuke left Africa as a mercenary. He might have been born in what today are known as South Sudan, Mozambique, or Ethiopia. Some believe that he might have come to Japan as a slave and managed to free himself, but experts claim this is highly unlikely. Considering he earned a rank of samurai in less than a year, he must have had some kind of warrior background. Besides, samurais often started training in their early childhood, so Yasuke must have been through a lot to be able to hone his skills. What we do know for sure is that Yasuke came to Japan with Alessandro Valignano, an Italian Jesuit missionary. Valignano came here to propagate Christianity and establish highly profitable trade routes. Yasuke was probably one of Valignano's bodyguards. During one of his ventures, Yasuke met Oda Nobunaga. Nobunaga was an esteemed feudal lord, also known as daimyo, who wanted to unify Japan.
All of the traditional Japanese art from that period makes everyone look so calm, you know? Like when you see like some classical Renaissance paintings or even some paintings that depicts like religious stuff, it can be quite horrifying because it's just like, you know, people with like intestines in their hands and stuff and like stuff. You're like, whoa, that's horrifying. So that's what the Inquisition looked like, eh? But when you see these kind of paintings, everyone just looks so chill, you know? They're just like, yeah, I'm just chilling out.
And under one flag, Oda Nobunaga was completely shocked by Yasuke's body, both his skin color and height. Upon meeting him, Nobunaga ordered his servants to strip and scrub him, believing that his skin was merely dirty. But he soon found out that the color of the skin was not the only thing that separated Yasuke from the other men.
And that was the first racism. Yep, historically, the very first one.
Historians believe that Yasuke learned Japanese well enough to communicate with Nobunaga. The black man was not like the other Jesuits, who came here to spread a religious agenda. He entertained the Lord with tales from India and Africa. He may have also talked about his endeavors and different encounters. Nobunaga was a huge fan of martial arts, but he was also an eccentric who liked to dress in Western-style clothing and surround himself with intelligent people. Having someone spike his interest, especially someone with a different culture, language, and view of the world, was what drew Nobunaga to build a friendship with this black man. Yasuke had this warrior spirit. He understood the language and cultural aspects of Japan. He also performed atesni, which is a form of narrative poetry in Swahili. He quickly proved himself to be a skilled warrior and gained the Lord's favor.
Again, fascinating story. Really sounds like it would make a cool video game. I think like I want to say that I think Grums, Geeks and Gamers, and I'm going to check out Asmongold's video in a second. I just think they didn't know. I think they just assumed that, like, you know, this is yet another Assassin's Creed game based on a non-historical figure based loosely in a historical time frame. Again, the games, if you haven't played the Assassin's Creed games, they're a virtual reality simulation concept. So the idea being is that you are traveling to these periods in history, but the entire thing is actually you in a computer simulation. And so that's part of the whole Assassin's Creed appeal, why there's so many different Assassin's Creed games looking at different periods. There was that recent one, I started playing it, but they're all just, there's too many Assassin's Creed. How many is there at this point? There's got to be like well over 25, maybe 30 or 40. Like, it seems like almost every other year there's another Assassin's Creed game.
Soon after meeting, Nobunaga handed Yasuke his Japanese name and accepted him into his ranks. After numerous encounters with enemies and successfully defeating them, Yasuke was granted the title of samurai. But that was not all. Nobunaga treated Yasuke like family. In fact, Yasuke was one of the very few people to dine with Nobunaga. It might sound simple to us now, but dinner with a daimyo was a rare honor and huge privilege. While serving the feudal lord, the black samurai met some of the most influential figures of the Sengoku period. He met
I too have been noticing how it just kind of, I think it's like the same recording being used, because every now and then it'll be like, Yasuke. I'm like, whoa, it sounds like ASMR. The new Assassin's Creed game is set in feudal Japan, which is cool. It starts with what appears to be a female ninja and a black samurai based on the historical figure Yasuke, which is also cool. Anyone who tries to argue about whether or not that's cool is just not worth your time. True. They are scum and villainy of the highest order. That is true. But they have monstrously huge audiences. Massive. Huge. In case you haven't been paid attention for the last 10 or 20 years, video game culture tends to be a repository for some of the most tedious people on earth. Also true. You know the type. These are the kind of people who don't consider mobile games to be real gamers, or who harass women who use their mics in online multiplayer games, or who argue about historical accuracy in a video game that has dragons and elves in it. These kind of people show up a lot in nerdy hobbies, like tabletop gaming or whatever people do in Letterboxd, or even enjoying Greek and Roman history. For the moment that the key art for Assassin's Creed Shadows depicted a black man in samurai garb, I knew this particular brand of person was going to get ripshit mad. Just look at the replies to this tweet. It's absolute nonsense in there. The most amusing replies are the ones that take into question the, of course, historical accuracy. But J'accuse, if you're linking to this, then you're doing the very thing. We're giving attention. This article, by definition, is giving these people attention. Great article, by the way. Thank you for sharing. The most amusing replies are the ones that take into question the, of course, historical accuracy of the character. It may be tempting to try and argue with these people for a lot of reasons. Most of all, that history and facts are on your side. This character appears to be based on Yasuke, the real guy who actually existed in the historical record. He was an African retainer for the warlord, Oda. No matter how many times I've heard these names pronounced, I'm still sick. Facts just don't matter to a racist, especially not the tedious kind of racist who makes their home in video game culture. If you're wondering why this is what it is because race isn't actually real. Like, human beings made up the concept. It's something that we, try and spread and use a society and our culture to uphold and stratify society based on racial and class hierarchies, for sure. But so if someone's going to defend it, if someone's going to say, oh yes, there is a superiority to one race over another, the most superior of all races are the white people. Yeah, they're the white power at the top. Yeah, the supremacy. If you're one of those weirdos, yeah, it's not based in logic at all. You're never going to be able to logically convince someone of that position because they believe it's divine providence. It's the same thing arguing people who actually think the Bible is literal, right? Like, at a certain point, you're not going to be able to get through to them. If they're sitting there and they're like, it's in the Bible! And you're like, well, true. Many words are in the the Bible. That doesn't necessarily make them good lessons or things we should do. We can certainly pick and choose the parts that we want to take as literal, and pick and choose what lessons we want to do, and you know, maybe there's just a many splendid Jesus eyes, so many Jesuses just around the world of all different races and sexualities and all the kinds of stuff, you know. And there's asexual Jesus, there's trans Jesus, there's white Jesus, there's black Jesus, whatever we're gonna do. But like, it doesn't mean that there's a literal Son of God who is both God and the Son of God simultaneously, and the Holy Ghost, the Holy Trinity. Seems weird, you know, just like putting so many things into one, just again to kind of fuse the old ways where it used to be multiple gods and then one God, and we went from polytheistic religions to theistic. There'll always be a new hair to split, a new way for this kind of person to object to a black man being in video games. You can bring up the other fantabulous aspects of Assassin's Creed franchise that clash with the history, the existence of the titular creed of the Knights Templar, whatever the fuck was going on with the Apples of Eden, the series depiction of Karl Marx as a devotee of democracy, rather than advocating for an armed revolution of the proletariat. What? They did Karl dirty?
Provided for. I challenge you both to help those who really need your assistance, the working people.
An interesting challenge. We accept.
Shouldn't we at least talk about these things for... Sod it. We accept.
I'm organizing a discreet meeting with some like-minded friends.
Oh, it's a full mission. You gotta follow Marx around. A discreet meeting with Engels, my sugar daddy. Other read on this is that for fellow white people, or white-skinned people, or light-skinned people, etc. Yeah, I completely agree with the take that black people should never have to justify their own existence, especially to racist-ass white folk who haven't figured it out. So for the you know, the woke whites, the non-racist whites, you know, even the well-to-do liberal whites, it is upon you to convince and change the minds of your family members and friends who are still harboring all of this bullshit. They got to unpack it, and yeah, they're going to go through their own personal journey, and they'll need to be seen and all that kind of stuff, and they're going to want to feel actualized, and you can be there for those moments in time. But yeah, you should probably take it upon yourselves to try and deprogram the whiteness among you, you know, the white supremacists among you, or even little shitty ass racist shit that people are still unpacking and unwrapping. It shouldn't be the responsibility of you know, black people to have to explain to white people. You shouldn't be racist. That's probably you know, not something they should have to deal with in addition to everything else. You'll create your own opinion. That's fun. Look at me creating an opinion having in real time.
All I have ever known in my life, I will end.
Looks nice.
Yeah, the graphics are pretty stunning.
My family burns.
Looks like a lot of human suffering went into making this. Just like hours and hours and hours and hours. So I'm working on the new Ubisoft game. Oh, cool. That's my dream. What's it like to work for a massive video game company? It's a lot of work. I'm the flowers guy. And you know all the renders you see of flowers, the way the light reflects upon them in the engine? I'm the one who does that. I work on flowers all day. All day. Could be worse. There's a blood guy. He has to work on blood and viscera and guts all day. And he has dark thoughts and dreams and really hates a lot of aspects of the process. But, you know, it's pretty nice that they don't give us a lot of time to actually think, because we're always working. We're always working because you got to meet those deadlines. Got to get that crunch. So because of that and our lack of unions and the reality that we could be fired at any given time, because everyone's getting fired. Thousands and thousands of jobs are lost in the industry, and I need these to be able to eat, feed my kids, and have health care. That I'm gonna have to keep on working on them flowers. They're gonna be real pretty when you play it. You probably won't spend too much time noticing them. The little details like that usually don't get a lot of the focus, but that was me. I contributed.
In the name of unification.
Yeah, good old blood boy.
So this is the guy.
I was watching his face. I was like, I wonder at this moment when this happens, what's the reaction going to be? You know, because I'm reacting to a reaction here. So just if we can Zoom in all the way. We can truly. I see someone in the chat saying that I don't believe that's a person. It's a whole bunch of sentient cockroaches in a suit. There's no evidence to that. But let's repeat.
So this.
I mean, he doesn't seem too outraged. He seems to not be buying into the hype. You know, maybe this is a change.
This is the guy.
Power.
This game looks fucking awesome, by the way. Can I just say that? The advertising is working on me just in terms of the trailer. I'm watching this, I'm like, this looks so much fun. I actually am now kind of excited for a Assassin's Creed game for the first time since I think the original Assassin's Creed. I remember the concept and being like, oh, that's cool. And now there's like 50 games, so many Assassin's Creed games, you know? It's
My
Ubisoft,
understanding, by the way, is that's
Fair.
not what they did, but it doesn't really matter.
Now everyone's like, mid. It's gonna be mid. Ubisoft mid.
And you? Will you continue down that river? Or choose another path beyond what we see?
And we must look for it together.
Awesome.
We must learn to trust, rebuild.
And follow the blade.
Again, because now that we've actually learned the history behind like this historical figure, Yasuke, it's pretty incredible to think like this would have made a great story. And now seeing just like clips from the game, you're like, yeah, you know, people were fascinated because he was one of the few black people in Japan at that time, and certainly seeing someone of that like status, he became a samurai.
Technically, he was affiliated. He didn't have the title.
Are the shadows.
That served the light.
Okay, my take, game trailer, everything looked really cool. I just want to get to the content.
Him is he used like guns and like his armies, and that's like where they showed it, but he used it with like bow and arrows too. And so like there's like an element of this that's like attached to realism and like to something that actually happened. He wasn't a samurai. Yeah, like I'll tell you this, right, is I've read things about this, I've heard things about this, I watched like a documentary about like this time period even. This guy was never even mentioned.
You went a little deeper than Geeks and Gamers. You know, you didn't play a video and get your commentary from one Twitter user and then go from there. You actually did a little research, so you're on the. I understand that this is a historical figure.
Like it never even got mentioned once, right? Like I had no idea this guy even existed until what do you call it? And until this game got announced, right? He was just a retainer. Well, like he was a slave. I don't necessarily know that. Literally no one in Assassin's Creed is real. So you have Yasuke, but
okay, wait, hold on. Did you not watch documentaries on this individual? How are you confused by all these questions? Wait. He's like, so yeah, I put in the time, did some research. I didn't really see a lot about this guy. Did you just look up documentaries on samurai? Was that specifically? Yeah, I was watching documentaries on feudal Japan. Yeah, Yasuke was not mentioned, so don't know if he's real or existed. There's no way of knowing.
there's not a single mention of Nobunaga Oda. Seems weird.
Well, again, the people wanting to debate if he was a retainer or samurai, you are weird nerds on the internet doing weird nerd shit. You are the same folk who want to go to like a fucking trailer and consider it a victory to downvote it into oblivion. Again, like the geeks and gamers of the world who are basically like, we're almost there, it's almost been ratioed, yet another victim, yeah, we'll show the wokies, we'll fucking de-wokify the planet. And it's like, y'all are just weird racists. Weird racists on the internet, you know, just being weird and racist over and over and over. It'd be one thing for you to be like, the Little Mermaid, the remake, like most Disney remakes, was the soulless cash grab, and because of that, it's not a good film. Not like, let's revel in the celebration of having one of the most biggest downvotes in history at a trailer. You cannot say you already hate the film because it's a bad film when it hasn't been released yet, right? And sure, they're all shit. All of the Disney remakes are soulless cash grabs. Multiple things can be true at once, right? This game could end up being super mid. Could be super awesome. Could be super mid. Everyone's saying that it's going to be mid. I have only played, I think, 2 or 3 Assassin's Creed games, so I'm not like the biggest Assassin's Creed guy. I am aware of the plot of the general Assassin's Creed games, and yes, they usually play very fast and loose with history. That never seemed to be a problem when it was other topics, when it was Vikings, for example, and now all of a sudden it's just like,
historical accuracy. He went the samurai retainer was retained by the samurai. I demand an audience.
It's like, well, Jesus Christ. I mean, that seems like a lot of historians are pointing towards the fact that if you are retained by the samurai, you're still considered to be a samurai, and it's still, allow an individual to exist in human history and be talked about, and stories to be made, because been a lot of stories about white characters, been a lot of stories about Japanese characters. There's a lot of studios and video game studios in Japan that tell a lot of Japanese stories, and there should be these stories. It's a problem with this story. It's a very interesting story. It's a cool story. I think a lot of people who are learning about it for the first time now are going to want to learn more and consume content surrounding this historical figure.
Weird or off? I think that there clearly is, right? I mean, like, I would say, like, this kind of indicates, I mean, I bet that's him. Like, if I had to say, I bet that's probably him.
Yeah.
Now, I could be wrong.
Oh, he watched
where I come from with this. Very different era, though. Yeah, that's true. Is that whenever I see, like, a game that comes out and it has, you know, this is feudal Japan and, like, the main character is a black guy and a girl, I immediately, like, there's, like, no escapism that this can provide, because
that sucks. I mean, that's really sad and boring. There's no escapism. I just finished watching Shogun. You know, once again, we have another show that focuses around a white dude in feudal Japan. It's funny how that keeps happening. It's not an old show. It just came out. Real hit series. It is. Yep. Yeah, I know it's loose historical fiction. Absolutely. There's a book, Shogun, upon which it is based. I'm aware of that. Dave is reading it right now. Stay tuned for a review of the literature. I don't see people suddenly crying about that and being like, I really have to suspend my disbelief as I watch a man speak in 2 languages, but not any other languages, by the way. Kind of strange. It's like you went through the trouble to hire a Japanese cast, have people speak Japanese. Awesome. I love that. People, historical films should use different languages. I love when movies do that, or shows. But you don't have Portuguese. Portuguese is in English. In fact, every other language is in English. That part was kind of strange. It was just like, and they were doing lots of translation scenes where they would be like, oh, so in this, he's supposed to be speaking Portuguese. Just imagine it, because he's speaking English with kind of like a loose British accent, you know?
Come back here. I'm sorry, sir. Yes.
The entire story is built on the foundation of trying to appeal to a, quote, modern audience. Like, that's the way that I see it. Is like, whenever I look at something like this, I don't view this as like an authentic, like, piece of fiction. I don't view it as a, it's not historical. It's just like kind of fan fiction in a way. And so not appeal to, but influence? Well, either way, right? Whatever you want to call it. I don't want to argue, like, what the word you want to use is, but just overall, like,
does that apply
like, if I was
to
a Japanese person, I would probably be kind of annoyed by this. I'm not, so, like, I don't really, like, I mean, I don't, like, what the fuck does my opinion matter, right? But the truth is that that's the way I see it. Whenever I see a game that gets released and it has something like this, I just immediately don't take it seriously.
It's weird too because like I haven't seen Japanese people freaking out about this. I've seen white Americans and racists freaking out about this.
Spread some sort of you know, like diversity message, something like that. I can see why Assassin's Creed fans would be annoyed by it. It does.
Jesus, I can't stand the enlightened centrism of it all. It's so tedious. But fucking you can call out shitty takes. You can call out shitty stuff in your own community. Asmongold, do better. You can do better. Look, Jacksepticeye, doing great, doing awesome, doing better. You know, even XQC is on a journey of self-improvement. Get with the times. Get woke, motherfucker. The world's doing it. And you can help out. You can definitely start calling out a lot of this wild stuff. It's not bizarre to you in any way, shape, or form that when it involves anything other than a white dude, it's political. Suddenly it's about an agenda. Suddenly it's about pushing some kind of like, sorry, I should say a woke, cis, straight, white dude. Like that's the extent of it. That anything other than that is woke. Like is considered an agenda, is considered political. Doesn't that tell you something about what's going on here? Like, oh, a woman is a protagonist in an action game. Yeah, but is she hot and naked? Did you see it all? Like whole? Nope. No. Just her kicking ass and taking names. You know, she's all out of bubblegum. You're gonna enjoy it. Yeah, but tits. Big tits, big fat titties, fat titties. I get to see it. Costumes. Yeah, there'll be some alternate costumes for sure. It'll be sexy. She, yes, definitely will have sex appeal. It's not going to be the primary focus of the game, though. It's mostly her saving the world from the alien invasion kind of shit. You know, the fun action though. You'll have a time. Yeah.
Howdy everybody. I just wanted to let you know that for the cost of a cup of coffee, you can unlock bonus uncensored episodes of Mind Explosions by going to patreon.com/theserfs. Our videos couldn't exist without your support, and all our content is released early to our Patreon subscribers, as well as a ton of extra content you can't get anywhere else. Please like, subscribe, and thumbs up this channel, and if you're feeling extra perky, share it anywhere you think people would like to see or learn from our videos. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. We first want to give a shout out to everyone who makes this show possible. This program is produced thanks to the generous support of our Patreon supporters: Anna Loves Riley, Arian McCarthy, Cheryl Alvarez, Comrade Junkie, Doug Caddy, Everything Important, Hagbar Celine, Jimmy Sombrero, Multimondi, Omni, Peanut Butter Blondie, Political Poppy, Preston Kroll, Quite 185, Richard Bomey, Riley and Anna, Roller Dragon, Ruby, Cernicus, Stellar Gwyn, Sebastian Demmel, Travis McClinton, and Words Greenwood. As well as every other person you see on the screen right now, this show would not be possible without them. And if you want to join these wonderful people who make this entire program possible, simply go to patreon.com/theserfs and you can unlock uncensored and bonus episodes and, you know, help us exist.